ATV-TALK, the podcast. Sit down with your host industry professional, Leonard Duncan, as the men and women from the ATV world bring their behind-the-scenes stories to life. Every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And remember, dream big. It could be your story one day.
Duncan Technologies International. More than 33 years in the industries building racing programs and ATVs around the world. We build winners.
Well, Beau, I'd like to thank you very much for taking some time to sit down and visit with us at ATV-TALK. And we really appreciate you coming on the podcast and talking with us.
Yeah, no problem, man.
So
No problem.
Let's just start it off. How did this all begin for Beau Baron?
The ATV side of things, or racing in general, or how I started the whole.
I want to go all the way back, bud. I want to go all the way back.
All right, well, let's take it all the way back. So, I don't know. I was probably 3 years old, and then my cousins, they were a lot older than me, and I had one that used to race pro dirt bikes back in the 70s, and he had a Honda 250R three-wheeler. And I had, when I was little, I always drove with my dad by the local dealership, and they had all these, like, I think it was Zingers and some Suzuki 50s and stuff out in front, and KX60s. And I used to be like, "Oh, Dad, we got to get one of these. We got to get one of these," every time. And we just kind of passed by. But anyway, one day we went to my uncle's house, and one of my cousins had been racing pro for a long time on Makos, on dirt bikes, and they threw me on the front seat, in the front of this 250R three-wheeler, and gave me a ride down the road. And I was telling him faster, and then he'd go too fast, and I'd be like, "Slow down," and back and forth. And at that point, I was like, "Oh man!" And I think I was only, I had to be pretty young. I'm thinking 3, and I wanted to ride one. I wanted something, So I begged and I begged and I begged, and then at some point, my dad decided. He was like, "Well, we lived out on some property, and it was pretty flat out there." He decided to get the first model, I think, of the Suzuki 125 four-wheeler. And he bought that thing. And at some point, he was like, "If you could start it, you can ride it." And one day I went out there and I grabbed that pull start and somehow it cranked over. I don't know if it was warmed up or what, but I ended up putting, I think, almost 2,000 miles on this stock Suzuki four-wheeler. We plugged the tires hundreds and hundreds of times. And then from there, things just kind of snowballed, like I had always been riding. I asked for a dirt bike. We got a dirt bike. I think my fourth birthday, I got some 60 that scared the hell out of me. And we just, we just kept going on. And then it wasn't until I was about 12 when I actually raced my first race. I raced a dirt bike race over in Huron. It's gone now, but it was a place called the Huron Cycle Park. And man, I had always thought that I was really good, but I never knew anybody or rode with many other people. So I got to that place and I was battling for dead last, and I don't know if I got it. I think I might have beat one kid, but that was a sure was an eye opener for me, And then at the time we had a YZ80. It was like an 89 or a 89 or a 90, and I was the only one on one. Everybody had Kawasaki's and RMs and stuff like that, and we kind of looked around and we were like, what the heck, and then in 93, Yamaha had a new 80, and I ended up with that thing, finally my first new bike. And we started racing, and I won a series, just in the beginner class. And then went from there. I went from 80 beginner, and then the next year we bought a 125, and then I ended up winning the novice class in the 125, and then moved up pretty quick. I think when I was 17. So from 12 to 17 was when I turned pro and I got a AMA pro license. I think it was, no, I raced 4-stroke nationals and then got enough points to get the pro license the next year. So I was probably like 18 when I got my pro license, and I had that until this few years ago. It's kind of cool.
Really? So you
Yeah.
don't have your pro license anymore?
No, you got to renew it every year and hit, hit some races and stuff. And if I wanted it again, cause I just dropped it. I'd have to go ride around and ride amateur nationals and get enough points, or ride arena cross to get a supercross license, and that's just, I'm not in it anymore for that. I mean, I'm getting kind of old for the dirt bike scene. That's for sure.
Well, you still go pretty fast for an old guy.
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I like to have fun. That's for sure.
So how did you get tied in with the ATV crowd?
Well, I mean, we had always had ranch quads and stuff like that, and growing up, I remember this 300 Bayou Kawasaki thing we had, and I I would jump that thing off this levee, and my dad would just be like, "You're nuts, dude. What are you doing?" But anyway, I don't know. I got tied in with the quad scene because I went to Taft for a dirt bike race one weekend, and I ended up making a little money on my dirt bike, and then my buddies had just got brand new Suzuki LTRs, and they wanted me to come with them the next weekend, and I said, well, yeah, I'll go. I'll hang out, drink some beers, and just hang out with you guys. And so Bobby and Glenn, they come and pick me up, and they're like, "Throw your gear bag in, dude. You can ride one of our bikes. We'll go have a good time." And I said, "Okay." So anyway, I threw my gear bag in, and I went out, and I rode practice, and my buddy says, "Dude, you were going as fast as a lot of the pro guys with the blue plates." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "You should ride the pro class." And I was like, "Well, I guess so." I mean, I was clearing the jumps, and I was scared, my first lap, but I knew, I said, if I go as fast as I do on a dirt bike, I'm sure I'm going to make it. So I started clearing the jumps, and I felt halfway decent. And then, the race rolled around the next day, and I mean, I had no clue what I was doing. I had 20-inch tires and 18s and 20s instead of 20s and 21s, and a thumb throttle, which I wasn't used to. It made my thumb real sore. But I went out there and I had a good race. I battled for third for a while, and I ended up getting fourth. And I just remember, like, the whole gates were full at that time. It was a pretty popular thing, and I remember taking off, and I had a halfway decent start, and I remember riding and like looking at one line, and I would go in this thing, and I'd be all the bike was moving around so much, and halfway through the race, it kind of just started clicking. I was holding on at that point. I was a lot younger and really, really strong. And things started clicking after that. And halfway through the race, I started riding pretty good. And I ended up with a fourth for the weekend. And it was back when WORCS paid pretty well for an ATV class. And I think I made it was like $700, and it was quite a bit more than what I had made on my dirt bike the weekend before. And I'd always ridden dirt bikes. So at that point, I thought to myself, cause I was kind of done. I had, last year I tried to race the outdoors at the nationals. It was 2003. So it was a few years later. So what's that?
What year were you in riding the Suzuki in Taft? Because it didn't come out until 2006.
Shoot. Then it was probably 2007 or 2008, I'm guessing. It's hard to remember now. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what year it was. It was probably 07 because I think I bought some 08 Suzukis.
Nice.
Yeah.
And the next year you won your first WORCS race.
Yeah, I did. So I had called because I always had ridden around with Dustin to the 4-stroke nationals. Like me and him teamed up and rode a lot together. And, me, him and Nathan for a few years kind of hooked up and raced dirt bikes. And, I was still kind of doing some of that stuff. And I was working for Honda at the time too, like doing some durability stuff. And I called Dustin because I knew he was really good at riding the quads. And I said, hey, what do I got to do? Like, I rode the Suzuki and I did pretty good. And I was pretty much done racing for the most part, just for fun, like local races on the dirt bike. And what do I think I want to do this. If I'm going to buy a quad, what do I get? He goes, well, did you like the Suzuki? I said, yeah, but I haven't ridden anything else. He goes, well, they turn good. And I said, yeah, it seemed like that. And he said, well, just buy Suzuki. And Dustin was always super cool, super honest with me, telling me what to do. And so I got a Suzuki and I got the right size tires and I got some other stuff. And at that point I went out that year and actually won a race. I mean, I left it mostly stock for the most part. And after I won, I think I can't remember if it was after or right before that race, Holt's decided to send me some arms and some shocks. And he says, hey, if you like this stuff, you can keep it, and if you don't, just send it back. I said, okay. Sent me some stuff and got me rolling, and I ended up winning a race that year. And then after I won a race, like, the DATS guys got a hold of me and they had some Kelly stuff going on, and Cafro got a hold of me and he had a Honda deal going on. And I ended up third for the year. And I might've even done better than that, but I broke a chain in Mesquite and I got a DNF, and that was a bummer, but it was an eye opener, like, you gotta prep the bike right and be ready for what's coming. And at that point I didn't have any kinds of guards underneath that thing, that's for sure. So,
well, prepping an ATV and prepping a dirt bike is totally different world.
Yeah, it's quite a bit different, man. Your chain's just hanging in the dirt. So I had no clue. I hit a rock. We had a an enduro cross section kind of with some cement or something. And I remember the first lap, it was the first hole shot I ever got. I got a ATV Pro hole shot, because we were coming off the cement, and I got out front and broke my chain right away.
That's typical, right?
Yeah.
0 to 0 in 2 turns.
Exactly.
So once you got into the ATV world, and you got hooked up with Mike Cafro, things kind of started clicking for you.
Yeah, it was really cool. I mean, he had a lot of experience with Baja and stuff and how to make the bike solid, at that point. And we ended up building a couple bikes, and I went out and practiced, and we went to round 1 and we were solid, and we just kept going with it, and we ended up winning a championship, which was cool for the both of us at the time, and that first year, it was good times, man.
Has it only gotten better since?
Yeah, it's been up and down, like after that, me and Mike had a couple rough years after that, and it wasn't until I teamed up with H&M I won another championship. So the first year I won, and the second year I got a second, and then the next year I got a third, and then the year prior, after I was with H&M, then I won another championship, and then probably I 1 or 2 more after that, before I decided to go on my own.
Is it how much more do you like it being on your own versus being with the big team?
Well, To be honest, it was a lot more convenient to be on the team because now, I'm really busy all the time working on my own stuff. I got practice and race. I got my side by sides. 2 classes, and dude, I'm spread pretty thin. I got to really pay attention to budget and everything like that. Whereas before it was just kind of like, I had what I needed and I didn't have to worry about calling anybody or ordering anything or doing stuff, like the worst case scenario, I'd be like, hey, I need some stuff for a practice bike, and now I find myself not practicing as much, but when I do pull off wins, it's more satisfying for myself because, I did all the work. So it's a catch-22, like I'd have more time to myself if I rode for someone else. That's a given, and my family. But on the other hand, it's, I know what I'm riding on. I know what I'm racing in. I touch everything on the vehicles, and if I have a failure, it's my fault. There's nobody to blame. And some days we win and some days we're sad.
Well, you've had a pretty stellar career in motorcycles and ATVs, so I don't think there's any portion of it that would be a negative for you at any point.
Yeah.
What's the big difference for you when you go from, practicing on your dirt bike to practicing on your ATV to then driving your UTV?
Well, from the ATV to the dirt bike, it takes me a minute, just to. It doesn't take long anymore. I mean, at first maybe it was worse, but it doesn't take me very long. I can jump on there and go pretty good, and then within like a lap or two, I'm on it. The only thing I gotta realize is the difference between like peg and seat height, and then just body positioning. Like you don't want to move on the side of the dirt bike. You pretty much stay in the middle. So you just got to remember not to move around on it. But for the most part, I mean, it's all muscle memory at this point. My my mind is shot for learning new things, I think. So it's all muscle memory now.
Well, I mean, you've been riding for most of your life now at this point, or probably, more years than not. So when you jump in the UTV, is the satisfaction there? Do you get the same rush? Do you get the same excitement out of going out and racing the UTV? Or the same joy out of winning?
Yeah, I get the same joy out of winning. Sometimes it's frustrating, because it's just such a big vehicle. Like, I mean, there's a lot of money and a lot of time that goes into these things, and I could be working in the shop for an endless amount of hours, like literally an endless amount of hours, and then you can go into the first corner and you could get hit by a lesser driver, or really anybody, and your race could be over in the first corner. Like that's the only frustration I have, I guess, is that there's bumpers and there's a cage, and when you get hit in the first corner or anywhere on the track, like it's not like it's open. Like there's no consequence. I mean, if a driver takes himself out or takes you out, there's no consequence. But if you get hit with a dirt bike or a quad, I mean, that rider, I mean, things can happen. So they'll think about it twice, but not necessarily when you're in the car. But on the days that you do win and everything clicks, then yes, I'm super pumped, and it's a big deal. It's just, gosh, there's at times there's a lot more heartbreak in the cars, that's for sure, because when I jump on the ATV, I know, or the dirt bike, I know it's mainly me. It's mainly my riding. I know, I mean, everything else has to be good, but if I'm in shape, and even if my bike's slower or whatever, then It's what I did to prepare myself for the race versus the equipment,
When you think back on some of your past ATV years, who stands out as a helper that you would say directed you into the form that you are today as a multi-time champion?
I'd have to say I tried my best to learn from everybody. Like Mike had a lot of experience with the off road. I learned some stuff from H&M. Alan was a big help. He's pretty meticulous at working on stuff, and and I'm not saying that Mike wasn't either, but like if Al was working on your stuff, you didn't sweat anything, but I think setup and stuff like that, I learned more from Cafro before I transitioned to the H&M team. After, because I did a lot of setup and testing with Mike, and then I kind of learned from him, and then I took it over to the H&M team, and I learned from them on how to be more meticulous on the bike, working on the bike and stuff like that. And then I just I took them both and put them together and made my own program, like everything was new at H&M. Well, it didn't necessarily have to be perfect. It's great, if you can afford it, so there was a compromise in between, like both teams, what I was doing,
Well, there's no substitute for dollars when you're racing. If
Absolutely.
you have the budget, you're always a leg up because you're always able to spend more money. But
right.
One of the things that I don't know, maybe you're not mentioning or are mentioning, is you have some pretty iconic guys in your corner. One being Doug Roll, the other being Curtis Sparks.
Oh, dude. Yeah, both of those guys. And here's the deal, dude. Like, when I moved from Cafro to H&M, I met Curtis, and we became friends, and we're friends, and I really like Curtis a lot, and he calls me on a regular basis. I call him, and we just became friends. And the same with Roll. Like, me and Roll are friends. So I don't call him just about business. I don't call him just about, hey, my shock's this, my shock's that. Like, today we were just talking about, like, I took my kids to the riverbed last night, and, we were looking at rocks and stuff like that. And he digs on that kind of thing. And he's got a kid around my age, or, one of mine's age. And so like, I've been able to meet people. Yeah, this has been a great thing through racing. I've been able to meet people I've been friends with, for like the last 10 or 15 years. And it's so cool. It's so cool. Like, win, lose, or draw, next week we're still going to be buddies. Whether I'm on my game or I'm not, we're still friends. And same with their stuff too. My motor blows up. You know what, dude? Curtis is still my guy. He's still my buddy. And same with Roll also. If we don't nail a setup for a place, well, we'll brush it off. We'll just make it better next time. And we got notes on what we're doing, so let's move forward. Pretty cool though. Pretty cool that I have such awesome guys in my corner. I mean, Curtis was a factory 3-wheeler racer, and Roll has had so much experience in Baja, winning all kinds of stuff with his brother. I just think it's amazing.
You've even got to go down and race a little Baja, haven't you?
Yeah. I raced some Baja stuff, dude. I've done it on ATV and UTV, and we were successful in both, and it was cool. Yeah, I went down there. The last time I had really gone down there, I ran with Cafro, but the time before that, I ran with the Jagged X team, and I helped them win a championship down there in Mexico, for the side-by-sides. And that was pretty cool. That was a fun thing.
What year was that?
I don't know, dude. I'm not good with my dates, but it was probably, I don't know, 4 years ago. I'm guessing 3-4 years ago.
I remember being down at San Felipe, and we're driving out of one of the pits, and you come bopping along with Roll in a pickup truck, screaming at me about one of my guys holding you up. It was all in good fun, you know. I mean, you were just like, "Hey, dude, you need to tell that guy to get out of the way."
Oh, it was Andy Lagunas or
Andy Lagston.
Andy Lagston. Yep. I remember it well, dude. Yeah, it was fun. You know, like it was a good time, and see, I didn't get much time to pre-run, and I didn't know the lines, and I'd worked so hard. I'd worked so hard to make a pass on this guy, and then he'd pop out back in front of me, and nobody to blame but my own program. It was cool. That was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, I remember that from the way back. It's a lot of fun when you get to see all the guys and talk to you guys during the race. I really enjoyed my time in Baja.
Yeah.
I hope that it's someday maybe we get to all go back and do it again. But if you had to get on the line right now and you had to pick 10 guys that you haven't raced with, or maybe you have raced with them, you go back, you go forward, who would you pick?
The best of the best. I mean, I think, number one is Josh Frederick, because that guy, he would never, ever, ever, ever get tired or give up no matter what happened, man. So Josh would probably be the number one guy. I had a lot of races against Frenchie. He was just super fast. I mean, super fast. And we're still friends. We race against each other over in Europe almost every year. I get to go back there. We're not going back this year, but maybe next year. And I'd have to say it'd be cool to race against Natalie in his prime, because he came out and raced a works race for Johnny, trying to do some blocking. And that didn't pan out well, but that was the same time he hit Roll. Or I mean, not Roll, but Eichner, when Eichner was going backwards on the track at Glen Helen. I don't know if you remember that. And then Eichner's definitely another guy. He was a hero back in the day as far as works goes. I'd have to say Wienen and Kramer. Let's see. I mean, Hetrick now, he's winning and everything. Rowe was always pretty fast. I don't think he ever hit his peak, because he just, he was popping in and out of things. I think if he had it 100%, he would have been just as good as I was.
Phenomenal desert racer, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, he's amazing, dude, and a great kid too. So, trying to think. I mean, Levi was my first teammate. When I was running for CAFRO, he was a great rider. Would have been nice to have him on the line too, with all of us, just everybody in their prime, and just battle it out. Would have been,
that'd be great.
That would have been, dude. It would be so cool, I mean, I'm getting older now, but if we were all, I don't know, I think a good age for an off-road racer is probably about 25, 28, something like that, just enough experience.
Do you realize that Eichner was older than you when he was doing
winning
works?
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, how old was he? Was he about 40?
I was 39 when I stopped racing in 2005, and he's a year and a half older than I am.
Right.
So he was already, when he retired, he was 46, I believe.
Wow, 46. That's pretty bad, dude. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, when he rode that Polaris and did that big jump for Huevos.
Yeah, Wes Miller's movie, yeah.
Yep. He was over in his 40s, 200
Yeah.
some feet on that Polaris.
Right.
That almost kill you just thinking about it.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy, dude. And,
So,
wow.
so let's talk about your motorcycle guys and some of your best races. I mean, I want to hear a good battle story with you and one of your old time nemesis.
On, like on the dirt bike side.
Dirt bike, ATV, doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, probably one of the best races I ever had was at just a local race, over here. I, one of my best friends was Nathan Woods, and he passed away at Taft years ago. But he was a two-time WORCS dirt bike champion, and me and him always rode together. And he was always faster than me. Even if I was practicing at the same speed, somehow at the race he would end up kicking my ass. And so one time we were up in King City at this like arena fair race, and I ended up, dude, I mean both motos I beat him, and I was so pumped. And for me that was like a milestone. And after that I didn't really beat him much either, but that day was my day. And so that was one of the best races I ever had. I mean, and he was more of an off-road guy, but I just thought it was cool to be able to beat him, because he's won so many things, and he'd raced Supercross and everything else. So, but I'll never forget that day. That day was a good day for me. And
so now tell me an ATV guy that because I know you had some great battles with Davey, but
oh yeah, Davey on the line too, dude. I've totally was just spacing, but yeah, Hagsma, he rode great. He was so fast. I mean, he was so fast. I think I just had a little bit more of a mental edge, I luckily I'm like my grandfather, like I just don't give. I try not to anyway.
Well,
but
thanks, man.
Yeah. So yeah, me and Davey had some great battles. I mean, all the time we had great battles, and it was cool when I was racing with the team because we would go out and practice together, and we would push each other to make each other faster, and that was rad. I think probably the year after, MotoWorks was done, Josh was hurt, everything that went on, and the ATV started tapering a little bit at that point. I think that was the fastest year. The next couple years was probably the fastest I'd ever been on a four-wheeler because me and Davey were training and riding together. And I went with Davey to some nationals, and I did okay and he did okay, but our setup was totally off compared to the East Coast guys. And they tweaked on that, and then Davey went back the next year and got on the box a lot during the year. So just kind of shows you that it can be done. You just got to put in the effort, because usually a guy from the West Coast comes out there and they get their butt kicked, but Davey did it. He was one of the top guys, and it's kind of the same thing over here. So we were racing WORCS, and we were up in Washington, and I was a guy at that point at WORCS, and Boric and I think Bethel and McGill and Gallagher came out, and they literally those guys smoked me, but their quads were narrow and they had a good setup for the trees and this and that. So I was pissed, of course. The next year, I got some arms from Roll, and I narrowed up my quad, and I went up there and got a shock setup dialed in early, and a little bit early. Then they shut down the track, so I came back home, and then we went back up there, and then I ended up winning the race, like with Boric and all the same guys in it by over a minute. It just one of those things. Setup is huge, and I wasn't expecting that, I guess.
Well, I remember the wet race in Utah when Wolf came out and schooled everybody.
Dude, yeah, it was crazy. So, um, yeah, here we were in Utah, and then we
You dropped off.
we got to this we got to this place and we took off, and then it was like there's water crossings. I think we crossed the water like 4 or 5 times in one lap, you know. So if you add that up with how many laps we did, it was crazy. I don't know, it was like 30 something times we had to go across water crossings. Guys were pushing bikes out and everything, and we're not used to this, you know. It's not a GNCC thing. And so we get down to the first water crossing and somebody's stuck and we're all in a line, and then all of a sudden Wolf just kind of looks at us like we're morons and goes around us and jumps in the water and starts floating down the creek and then gets back out. But of course, we didn't have the same setup as him. So like every time I cross the water, my bike's just sputtering. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, dude. And I'm just watching everybody go away, you know. J Fred had a problem with something in his carb or something. And you know, he didn't do so hot. And I ended up beating him, which was decent for my points. But, you know, I didn't want to lose to some outsider, you know. But I met Wolf, and he was a cool dude, you know. Like we raced against each other in Latuke, and yeah, what a great guy, man.
Yeah, I got to watch that. That was a lot of fun. You guys put on a show.
Yeah, it was pretty cool, dude. It was a good time. It was a good time.
He's a hell of a rider and a nutball. God.
Yeah, he's a great rider, and he is not scared. That's for sure.
Man, yeah. I mean, you're very impressive, but he was taking it to a next level because he wanted nothing more than to beat you there in Canada.
In Canada? Or in Canada? Oh, yeah. At Latuke?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we ended up winning. It was cool. I went with Hancock the first year, me and Matt and Josh Edwards. We went, and Edwards built the bike, and we were doing good. We got into the lead at one point, and the bike blew up, and then so it was over, you know, like a little past halfway or 3/4 of the way. And then the next year we came back with H&M, and you know, Pro Motorsports brought their big rig out, and then we had Alan and we had Roll with us, and we did some suspension testing and everything. And then it was just, dude, it was me and Matt and Haxma, and we ended up checking out, dude. We won that race, and that was one of the greatest wins I've ever had, because, you know, not only was it in another country, but it was a team thing, and it was really fun, and there was a lot of strategy involved, and I dig stuff like that, dude. It's just, I wish we had more of it, you know.
Yeah, I wish you could get those big gatherings together and have events in the United States, or even, you know, Mexico or Canada, and run things like that, or even a series similar to Pondezvous, because you got to strategize there too. It's fun. I really
absolutely.
I got to watch that race because we had some issues at the end, but my highlight of that race was shock testing with you. You probably don't even remember. I was riding a Yamaha, and they took it down on the bottom portion of this wash, and there was a kicker coming out of this left-hand turn, and they made us hit it over and over and over again. And your bike is just floating over it, and you're like, no problem. But you're the professional. I'm just Joey No Visor out there trying to have fun. And they made me hit this edge so many times. And after it was all over, you leaned over and said, wow, you really can ride. And I thought that was the greatest thing ever, you know, because I didn't crash. I mean, I just didn't crash.
Yeah, but on my end of the deal, like, what a jerk I am. You know what I mean? Because I was green, dude. You know, I was green, and I almost, you know, I apologize for that. I just, you know,
brother, I thought it was the most awesome thing in the world that you could say to me. because I am
Yeah.
not a racer. I mean, I got to race. I got to do some great things, but I was there to have a good time and just to say I did it. Not, we were never going to be competitive with the fast guys.
Right. Right.
We
That
took
was
a
cool.
stock Yamaha with a couple parts on it, and it got hot, and the plastic plugs popped out of the side of the motor and drained all the oil out.
Yeah.
So, who is your, other than Davey? I mean, I know Josh and you had some good battles. You probably had a couple battles with Dustin.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Your greatest works win. Has it came yet?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think probably the greatest one for me in my mind was because, the East Coast boys thought they were going to come whoop up on me again. I think is why they came back, and it didn't happen, and I didn't let it happen. And, I'm sure if I went over to the East Coast, they would all smoke me, McGill, Borich, all those guys, Fowler, everybody. I mean, but on the other hand too, like each year I get to race with, Bryson Neal, great rider. And he podiums often. I think he's once won a couple GNCCs, and he's he's a regular on the podium anyway. And, somehow, almost 40, I've been able to keep the same, pretty close to the same lap times as him. So you never know. I mean, but that's Ponte-Vu also. It's not GNCC. And I mean, that's a whole different story. So for I guess to say for them to come out here, and I mean, I guess that's why they picked Washington, because the trees were so close together. I mean, it was obvious. It wasn't a desert race like what we do now. Like everything's pretty much desert.
Well,
So.
Didn't they come to Mesquite one year and get pretty much embarrassed? I don't think any of them finished.
Yeah, dude. And I specifically remember this one time when Weenan came out, when he was part of the Moto Works team. He got the whole shot, but he wanted to ride with the motocross tires, and he got the whole shot. And every single lap he would wheelie down pit row, and but you got to remember, our race was 2 hours through those big deep whoops, and they just got deeper and deeper. And all of a sudden he went from wheeling down pit road to pretty much dying, I think. And he just went backwards. I mean, pretty much everybody passed him at that point. It's just a different thing. He trains for 20 minutes. That's all. It's different.
It goes awful fast for 20 minutes, right?
Yeah. I mean, he was faster than all of us. That's for damn sure.
Well, I remember when he rode for Kawasaki and they came up and raced a race up there at Adelanto race.
Oh, Adelanto. Okay.
Yeah. Him and Creamer. And they're out running 1-2. And unfortunately, Doug and I had a problem that day when our first ever race, we didn't finish at Works. And I was talking to Jimmy White, and he turns around and he starts walking back to the truck. And I go, "What are you doing? You guys are out there winning." And he goes, "Oh yeah, the motors are going to let go." And both bikes pulled over within seconds of each other. Done. You know what I mean? They had a timer. They run X number of minutes, and it was over. And he said, "We're just out here motor testing." I'm like, wow, it's a kind of an expensive test, don't you think?
Yeah. Well, if you got it, one way to find out.
Exactly. So tell me a little bit about your family.
Well, I got a 3-year-old and
she's already 3.
Yeah, my little one, she's 3, and I got an 11 and a 13. So it's crazy. My 13-year-old's getting ready to go into high school if they ever open the school back up, and it's going to be crazy, man. I don't know. I mean, she's racing a Raptor 250 in the women's class. The one below that is running in an Apex 70. She's 12, and then the little one doesn't want anything to do with racing at all. But that's fine with me, And the other two they're pretty mellow. Nobody's crazy or gung ho like I am about this stuff. But it's cool for me to be able to go to the track and have a bike there, when they want to ride, and so at least they have something to look forward to on the weekend, and I think it's cool. And you know, it's different. You know, for me, I don't want to push anything. So if I figure if they want to do it, they'll figure it out. And if they don't, then that's fine too. You know, whatever you want to do. It's your life.
So you're just going to support them in whatever they do and just be dad.
Yeah, just dad, dude. No pressure. It's all good. You know, I mean, they never make any money at it anyway. So I mean, and really, I don't want to be the guy. I don't want to have that pressure. You know, I don't want to pressure somebody. You know, it'd be if they were going to do something professional, it'd have been much easier to try to be a, you know, baseball or something player. You know, or try at it. You know, it costs a lot less. So
Golf.
it's fine with me.
They can make a lot of money playing golf, right?
Yeah, exactly. Tennis, whatever.
Yeah,
anything.
Put a tennis racket in the little one's hand.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I don't know.
How does Mama deal with the racing?
Good. She's always been a trooper, you know, since we were in high school. She was always, you know, not an issue. Like really good. Always kind of let me do what I need to do just for racing. And you know, that if you're a racer, that's the kind of partner you got to have, I feel, because you can't just take somebody that doesn't like it and change them, you know? So she had gone to the track with me from a real young age, and you know, she knows it's what I love to do. And, you know, luckily for the last, you know, 10 or 12 years, it's supported our family pretty good, actually, probably about 15, including Honda. But, you know, I just, yeah, I'm very fortunate to meet somebody who's super cool.
What do you think the future holds for Beau Baron?
I don't know. You know, apparently some more side-by-side stuff. I'm not sure, you know, like if the plug was pulled on the side-by-side thing, all of a sudden, I think, I don't know, for a little while, I'd probably try to do, you know, some riding lessons and stuff. I've got a couple tractors, you know, when I was younger trying to race dirt bikes, I always worked for companies that did like grading and you know, house pads and all kinds of stuff. I worked for a paving company for a while, and just some random things. I've picked up a lot, you know, along the way, and I'm a halfway decent mechanic, I think. So, I don't know. I haven't really figured it out yet what I'm going to do after I'm done racing, but, it shouldn't be too hard, you know, shouldn't be too bad. My wife has a really good job. She just doesn't go that much. So, she could probably go a little more, I guess.
Honey, I want to retire and sit on the couch. You can go to work. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I'll take care of the kids. Yeah, for sure.
You stay home dad, and all you're going to do is ride all day, huh? Go play in the river bottom and be out on the UTVs having a good time.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't know if it'll work, but I could see that.
I don't want her mad at me because I just filled your head with some phantom.
No, we're good. We're good.
Well,
she could look at me and tell me what I'm thinking.
Most wives that are tuned into their husbands can.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well, Beau, it's been a real pleasure having you on, and I hope that you'll come back and talk to us again. I really enjoyed the friendship that we've had, and the times that you've taken me aside and given me your 2 cents when I needed it. You know, I've been around a long time, and I've enjoyed the different riders and the different programs that I've got to be around and be involved in. And I've watched your career in the ATVs when you went from the Suzuki to Cafro to H&M and you know that you're on your own. And I just want to say I really appreciate your professionalism, and I hope you continue to do this successfully for as long as you choose.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate it, dude. And you know, as far as you go, you know, I like seeing you at the track, and you know, you're always have been such a good guy, just like, hey, you need anything, you let me know, and that's the way real racers are. They get along, whether you're my enemy or whatever, we get along. I mean, and at the end of the day, I'd bend over backwards for somebody if, even if they were my stiffest competition, if they asked me for something, then, if I got it, I'm going to give it to them, and that's just the way off-road ATV is. And it's pretty cool, like I said before, Dustin has helped me out with a lot of things. And right now there's this kid, well, there's two actually, Nick Nesbitt and Travis Damon. And Nesbitt's an arena cross dirt bike racer, and Travis Damon races WORCS on on dirt bike. They're both dirt bike guys, and they've transferred over, and I'm trying to help them the best I can, like just try to get them pointed in the right direction. And Travis has been on the podium, twice this year. So pretty cool. And, it's just good. It just grows the sport. And I'm glad lately to see the numbers grow again. And it was pretty funny. I was riding with Nick one day. We were over at Tulare at the motorcycle park, and I got him to come back and ride quad practice. They had a practice for us on the ATVs. We went over there, and the next week he told me, he didn't want to admit it, but he said he had more fun riding that track on the TRX than he did on his on his dirt bike.
Well,
so
I mean, Gary Denton transferred from motorcycles. Eichner raced motorcycles and then transferred to three-wheelers and then to the ATVs or the four-wheelers. So there is a lot. Most of your ATV guys come from a motorcycle background or do both, just like you do.
Right. That's for sure.
I just wish these clown motorcycle guys would get out of their head that the ATVs are couches. Come out and ride a couple, spend some time with these pro guys like yourself, and they'll teach you a few things that you're just not ready for.
Yeah. It's hard, dude. I mean, Nathan was a two-time champion. When I started racing the quad, he was a two-time WORCS champion. He got on my quad a couple different times, and he's, I watched him case this double and nose wheelie into a corner, and he's like, dude, you can have this thing back, like it isn't easy. It isn't easy for sure, but it's pretty cool that, some of the guys, like notice right away, because you have a handful of dirt bike guys that are just, like whatever, quad suck, all those guys are losers, whatever. But then, you get some of these other guys that are actually pretty decent riders, like Travis and Nick, and they're really good riders actually, and they're doing well on the ATV. And I promise the first thing that they notice is how cool all the guys are, like everybody is, it's more of a family than a standoffish, fight, I guess. And it's pretty cool, yeah, go ahead, use my pressure washer, do this, do whatever, like if you need something, just let me know. And they got that right away. And you won't see that, going to an MX race on a dirt bike or something,
I think that your ATV family is, you have to work together because the industry's so small. We don't have the same large groupings that the motorcycle guys do. And everybody's going to chew the same dirt, and everybody's going to need a part one day. You're going to need something, maybe your cooler fell over and you didn't have lunch. Come on over, sit down, have a sandwich. You're okay. It's okay to sit under my tent because I'm going to come over and sit under your tent, and for dinner, and we'll all get along and we'll all be okay.
Absolutely.
When it's all said and done, none of us are making millions, and the memories that we create for one another are priceless.
Absolutely. There hasn't been a time where I haven't been, I haven't gone to a race, and had a good time, with people. I mean, a lot of people got to realize when we go to the races, especially for what we're doing it for, it's fun, and when you lose that aspect of having fun, then what is it? What are we really out there for? Like, why are we even here if it's not fun?
Well,
Let's go. Yeah.
Making a bunch of money, you better be having fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do this because I love it. I love the sport.
Right.
I love the people. I love so much of what I've done. And my dad inflicted this disease upon me. When he was developing 9110 in the garage when I was a kid, and making those things screamers, rigid 3-wheelers with no suspension, and it was the thing. And then it evolved into suspension, and then it evolved into 4-wheelers, and here we are today. The machines are pretty serious. There's a lot of money involved in it, and they're really high tech.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude. Every year stuff gets better and better and better. And, even though some of the models just stay the same, it's not like we don't quit testing. Suspension still gets better. Like if I could take the bike that I'm riding today back years ago, oh my gosh. But, unfortunately it's taken them that long to get it to where it's at.
Exactly. And you got great guys like Doug Roll and the Elka team that come and do that testing and allow us to make it better and better. And sometimes we're doing things that maybe they're not wanting to do, but you have to do to make it better.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, good guys all around.
Well, Beau, I know that you're heading out to a race tomorrow, and I really appreciate you sitting down and taking the time with us. Again, how can your fans find you?
You can reach me on Instagram. It's Baron 549 if you want, and I'll do my best to get back to you. I'm not the best social media guy, that's for sure, but I'll do my best. If you got a question or anything like that, I'll try to get back at you. You could probably find me. I know you can find me on Facebook also. So anyway, that's pretty much it.
Excellent. Well, Beau, ATV Talk really appreciates you spending the time with us, and we hope that you'll come back and visit with us in the future.
Anytime. Just give me a buzz, dude. I'll be around.
All right, brother. Thank you very much, and good luck this weekend.
All right. I appreciate it. Have a good night.
Let's go.
All right. Later.
Bye-bye.
The team here at ATV Talk would love your feedback. Please email us at hello@atvtalkpodcast.com.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, don't forget to rate us on all the available platforms and share us with your loved ones. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for more ATV Talk news. See you next time.